my name is Droolbatz. It's so nice to see you. Today I'm going to be discussing the 2014 horror movie As Above, So Below. I'm going to be discussing it based on its premise, its production value and artistic choices, and finally, how it compares or contrasts to other films of the genre. I hope you enjoy. We are immediately introduced to the determined, brave, and extremely intelligent Scarlett. She has many masters and a couple of PhDs. She speaks 4 languages and has studied 2 dead languages, and she's some kind of archaeologist, professor type girl. She's basically a beautiful, modern female Indiana Jones. She's awesome. She is on a quest to find the mysterious Philosopher's Stone. Her father had been studying to find this stone his whole life. He was kind of ridiculed by his peers, and despite his belief, he really struggled to actually find the stone and eventually committed suicide. So don't bully your peers. Scarlett is pursuing the Philosopher's Stone because she genuinely believes in her father's work. She also wants to find the connection to him while she goes on this journey. She also wants to revolutionize the world of archaeology with her findings. Now, the Philosopher's Stone is this mythical stone that appears in many different legends and many different stories, many different mediums. Basically, it's this stone or something that can grant immortality, and more importantly, it's a stone used in alchemy to change things into gold. So it's highly sought after, but it's never been found. Scarlett enlists the help of some of her friends, a videographer who is trying to make a documentary of her little adventures, her translator friend, and then a bunch of French street punks to help her go down beneath the city of France because she thinks the Philosopher's Stone is down in the catacombs. However, the further and further down that they go, the weirder stuff they begin to see. It begins to look less like they are on the journey to find a mythical stone and more that they are traveling into the depths of hell. As Above, So Below immediately captures your attention by focusing on a cast of likable, interesting characters. Scarlett is very Indiana Jones-like. She's a very intelligent girl. She's pretty. In a modern sense, she's very intelligent, and she's clearly spent her life studying, and she's very adventurous. Basically everything you could ever want in a heroine. She also has some interesting friends. Benji is the fun, I think his name was Benji, is the fun videographer, and then she's got this other friend who's like a translator, and he likes to break into old buildings and randomly fix the old mechanisms in a bell tower or something that haven't been working for years and then mysteriously vanish. That's his thing. She has a bunch of cool friends. The characters all have good and interesting chemistry. It's clear they have a good past, and they're just really easy to watch. As the movie goes on and we meet more and more characters, they all interact really well with each other, and it's pretty clear that the movie has a lot of good acting and a lot of good directing. Now, this movie is a found footage type film. These movies can get boring pretty quickly because the camera angles are always of someone holding either a selfie or filming their friends, and it's got this shaky cam, and some people really don't like that. That said, this movie had some really actually very well composed camera shots, so even though it still looked like a found footage film, some of the shots were quite artistic despite that. It made for a really fascinating watch. I'm not used to found footage films looking that good, frankly. The color palette, unfortunately, was a bit bland. I would excuse it, though, in this case, because the bulk of the movie is spent in these catacombs beneath France. They are basically in these Parisian tunnels underground, so with things only lit with their headlamps, it's yeah, I'll excuse it in this case. There's not too much music because it is a found footage type movie. However, there were some really interesting kind of traditional sound effects that added an ominous feel, like a boom, when they saw something weird and they're like, what is that? It made for a very subtle but distinct ominous tone throughout the movie. The plot of this film was very intricate and very intellectual. It was really satisfying to watch as they try to put all these steps in place to discover stuff. It was also a very tense movie as they move further and further down and they encounter weirder and weirder things. As an audience member, it was really fascinating to try to watch the convergence of the intellectual puzzle with the scary, mysterious underworld as they kind of mesh together. Altogether, the way that this movie was put together was really clever. It's a very tight film, not a lot of dead space really, which is, in my opinion, one of the downfalls of most found footage films. This movie clipped right along. It had a lot of interesting visuals. It had a lot of quick pacing, a lot of likable characters, and altogether, it just had a really good vibe. The editing was tight and was really clever to make it look like everything happened in one continuous stream, and I just found that I was really impressed with this movie in that way. Now I'm going to be discussing how this movie compares or contrasts to other films of the genre. I'm going to be spoiling this movie, so if you don't want me to do that, too bad, I'm doing it. Please leave now. It was great having you. I'll give you a minute to leave. So as Scarlett and her friends descend further and further down in the mysterious, macabre catacombs beneath France, they find that it seems like they are descending not just through the earth, but down through the gates of hell. They eventually, after losing a couple of people and encountering some really weird phenomenon, discover the Philosopher's Stone. It's so exciting. There's like treasure beneath the earth. You get a very satisfying like Indiana Jones type moment, which I'm a huge fan of Indiana Jones, so that was cool. However, once they get down into this mysterious chamber, Scarlett's translator friend is like reading the walls so that they know what's what, and she picks up the stone. The opening that they came in through closes. The only way for them to escape is to go down, even though they had come from above. As they start going down, Scarlett and some of her intellectual friends start thinking about different passages, including as above, so below, and like they shall crawl on their bellies through the gates of hell and stuff, because they have to get down into a cavern and crawl hands and knees. Basically, they start to get freaked out, and for good reason, because as they descend, things start just falling into madness, and it honestly seems like they're going into hell. They discover some really crazy monsters that try to kill them. They start hallucinating things from their past that kind of haunt them, like one guy who has like mysterious burns on his body and won't talk about it. It's discovered that one of his friends or something, maybe his brother, burned in a car crash and he didn't save that person, and it's been haunting him. These kind of weird visions come at them. This one friend who had supposedly been lost in the catacombs, this French guy, he goes crazy and just kills one of them randomly. So basically they're trying to fight against having to deal with all of this stuff, and if they can possibly find their way out. They are getting picked off one by one, and the situation is getting extremely dire as their headlamps start to flicker and fade away, and as people start to get seriously injured and freaked out. I'm not going to say much more. I really do want to keep part of it a surprise. One of the main comparisons that is really easy to draw is to the Indiana Jones movies. Indiana Jones is not a horror movie. None of them are, though they do have a couple of like horror-like sequences. I am a huge fan of Indiana Jones, straight up. It's been one of my favorite movie franchises since I was like 14. I used to wear the Indiana Jones hat, and I have like an Indiana Jones t-shirt. Just really love Indiana Jones. There are a lot of movie characters that try to imitate Indiana Jones, and I find that they're often not good. They kind of fall flat, and it's really hard to like the characters because you know they're just ripping off of Indiana Jones. I don't know that Scarlett's character was supposed to be such a heavy allusion to Indiana Jones, but the way they made her character was like, you know, very tactfully in the vein of Indiana Jones. They kept her own person, and it wasn't like, you know, they're trying to draw such strict comparisons. I found that I really liked her character, and I liked the other characters too, and that was a compelling part of this movie. There's a movie called The Descent that's got a very similar premise. People go down deep into the earth, can't find their way out, and crazy stuff starts happening. Now, in The Descent, this group of women, they're going on a spelunking trip. They're going to explore some caves. They made a cave plan, but they end up going to this different cave. Their ropes break or something. They're stuck down there. Their headlights start going out, and they start getting picked off one by one. The main difference in that is that in The Descent, it's actually a straight up monster movie. It is not advertised that way. It's kind of portrayed as like a psychological movie, and there are elements of that. But there are straight up freaky vampire cave people that start trying to kill them, and they have to like fight them off. In As Above, So Below, there's a little bit of element of like, there's mysterious cave-dwelling creatures that they have to get, but a lot of it is more this puzzle that's kind of unraveled relating to the Philosopher's Stone and many of these ancient texts. It's definitely more of a mind game than The Descent, and I think that the way that they tie the characters' pasts into the movie is not cheap. I think they did a really good job of planting little seeds here and there about what their mysterious past could be. For example, one of the French punks who's leading them down into the caverns is like, you know, they say, hey, what's that scar on your arm? He's like, shut up, or whatever. And then later on, like much later on, it's revealed what happened to him. One of the guys, he's like, I won't go in that cave because his brother died in like a cave full of water or something when they were little kids. And so it's like, then he goes down and like sees his brother or whatever. It's just really well constructed, and I was surprised that they were able to pull off this kind of an intricate plot as a found footage film. It is pretty similar to The Descent visually, and like the premise, of course, is quite similar, but when you get down to the details, it's very different. The character dynamic is very different. In The Descent, there's a lot of inner tension, and it's pretty clear that even though the girls are friends, some of them have some serious beef with each other that kind of comes to light. Altogether, As Above, So Below is different from The Descent, but it is easy to kind of compare them. And if you liked The Descent, I would suggest that you watch As Above, So Below. The vibe is quite similar at points. If I had to rate this movie, I would give it, dare I say it, I would give it a 5 out of 5 stars. I really, really liked it. I hesitate to give a movie that much. Maybe I'll give it 4.5. It was really good. I thought that while the premise has been done before, the actual plot was very unique, very original as far as I can tell. I haven't seen any other movies with this concept like that. The characters were so likable, and like there were a lot of really impressive editing tricks that really made this movie stand out for being a found footage type of film. It was just a delight to watch. I really, really would recommend it to pretty much everybody. It was exciting, but also terrifying. And I thought the movie did a really good job of blending those two emotions and giving us moments of excitement and terror and excitement and terror. And it was just a really satisfying watch. Tell me what you think, though. Have you seen this movie? Do you like it? Do you think that the plot is as fascinating as I do? Would you compare Scarlet to Indiana Jones? Let me know if you have anything to say. I'd love to hear it. I really liked this movie, and I would love to have a good discussion about it and hear your thoughts. Anyway, I hope this review was helpful to you. Thank you so much for watching. It's been a real pleasure, and I hope that you will consider liking and subscribing if you enjoyed. Thank you so much, and I'll see you later. Bye.